unfortunately, many of us go to school to get a job, for instance. We don't perceive it as a part of a massive effort to attain control and mastery of our situation, and ultimately to outdo the European. You see, one of the major problems we have as a people is, and one of the major functions, let us say, of Eurocentric psychology and sociology and history and so forth, has been to convince non-white people of the invincibility of white people, to convince us that the white man is not capable of being defeated, that he cannot assume his minority position in the world as he is. This being the case then, and it has made us then think, well, we have to accommodate him. We have to get along with him. No, he's going to, we have to live with them because they are in control and so forth. Well, that leads to a type of attitude toward learning that means that you are not going to try to outlearn him, outthink him, outmaneuver him, you see. So if you're going for mastery, you see, then the knowledge becomes very important, and you see it as a tool for advancing your own power interests in the world. If you're not going for mastery, you just see it as a means of being able to carry out efficiently the orders that are handed down. It also limits creativity, because if we are to defeat the European, if we are to master this earth and take back this earth from the European, then we must outthink the European. We must then be creative. That puts the learning emphasis on the how-ness, the how to think as such, and to the use of knowledge as a tool of mastery. It's a very different kind of thing. Very different emphasis there.
Let me ask you this, backflipping some. We talked earlier about the fact that in the 60s.
Pardon me. I sometimes want to get down to a little more practical implication of what this means. As a result, you see, of the control and the paternalism of Europeans over black people, you see, the other thing that we must recognize, even if the European becomes good and nice and accepts us and so forth, the fact that he would still be in control creates what we might call a benevolent paternalism, which still to a degree helps to maintain this passive mode of thinking, this passive mode of knowledge. Now, when you get into the classroom, you see a child then that wants to be told what the answers are instead of how the answer can be attained. For instance, sometimes in my class, I give an exam, and we're looking at the results of the exam. And the first question you would get sometimes is, well, what is the answer to so-and-so and so-and-so? And I had to say, look, you must find that answer yourself and dig it up. The emphasis is quite often then on memorizing the answer. So therefore, reasoning as a tool for finding the answer is thrown out as such. And the child then is handicapped in that if he has not memorized the answer, then he fails the exam because he either knows the answer or does not know the answer. You get what we call one-shot thinking. You see, I'll shoot and guess at the answer. Quite often it gets into a kind of thinking that depends upon personal feelings. Often I find in my classroom, which is predominantly black, sometimes that I have to get the students to separate personal feelings and hunches from dealing with a problem as a problem that is susceptible to reason, not as a problem that has an emotional attachment to it as such. But you see, when you remove reason and sequential thinking and active attacking of a problem as the mode of approach, then the person is thrown back on memorizing, on guessing, on going with impulses, and on being unsystematic in their approach to knowledge, upon waiting for someone else to give the answer. So what you see quite often with the black child in the classroom is somewhat of a miniature reflection of the orientation of black adults to white people. For instance, to a great extent, black people look at Reagan as some kind of white daddy, and we see this kind of business, please, in a sense, Daddy Reagan, don't do this, or we're waiting for Daddy Kennedy to come back into the White House. And rarely do we hear a discussion about what are we as black adults going to do to solve our problem. You see, this is communicated to our children, and it's communicated in a way that they too wait for the answer. Blacks think that we've been misled by our leadership, for instance. They think that we can consume our way into equality, and sees equality as an equality of materials. So if I have the same car as a white person, if I have the same house as a white person, you know, a similar job, then I'm equal. But you cannot consume yourself into equality. You must produce yourself into equality, and you move into equality and beyond by productive thinking. Because as long as you're consuming knowledge or you're consuming materials, the guy who is giving it to you or selling it to you is producing at the same time, which means that you never catch up with him because he's always 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. To a good extent, many of our students go into schools, college as well as secondary levels, consuming, and their minds are not being developed to produce the true means by which they will accomplish equality. Everything else is sham.
Well, there you have it. Dr. Amos Wilson, his message supporting Neely Fuller's message about the utilization of historical information. But I like where he took it, because we're at war. War is a competition. That's literally what it is, a competition between nations for dominance. And because we're at war, as Dr. Amos Wilson said, we have to compete on every level in every area of human activity. We have to compete with white people. We have to be better. We have to be the greatest versions of ourselves. We have to work together. We have to not just be dominated. We can't just be passive people. We can't just be docile. We can't just be citizens. We can't just be here for continue to be a labor class. We can't just be people who just want to feel good about our situation. And the compensatory code, there's a part, especially in the economic section, there's a part where Neely Fuller is talking about you can own everything you want. As a black person in America, you can own everything you want. But because you are oppressed, because you're in a subservient position, everything you own is still owned by the people who gave it to you. Because think about the means that you have to go through to be able to get what you need. You still have to go through the dominant society. And we keep calling them the dominant society because they dominate us in every aspect, in every area of human activity. And if we continue to just want to feel good about being in America, or being able to have the illusion of success or the illusion of inclusion, because they would never let you in. They would never give us a piece of the pie. They would never give us a piece of the power. We would never get that. So you got to be real with yourself. Go ahead, Pat, because when it was closing off, you was into it. I know Amos Wilson is your guy, so go ahead.
Yeah, Amos Wilson is my guy. I mean, I've seen one of the, because I work with kids, right? High school, teenage age, teenagers, and college students. And one of the things that I've learned is that they struggle when their hand isn't held. Kids either love my class or hate it, and quite often they go through both extremes. They start out hating it, and then they end up loving it, because when they come in class, I'm the type of teacher that will give you a grand project to do with very minimal instruction. I don't believe in rubrics. Why am I gonna tell you exactly what you need to do to get the perfect score? Life don't work like that. Figure it out. And you do see that shown in the black community as a whole, where and I know people will say, well, that's American culture, but look, we're black people in America. We're not allowed to be the same way everybody else is. When you own 98% of everything in the land, you can afford to be as ignorant as you want to be about everything. You own everything. Mm-hmm. When you are one of those people that live in that land that are competing with other groups for the remaining 3%, You can't afford to be ignorant. You don't have that luxury. That's a part of what we like to call white privilege. Yeah, your black ass ain't got that. So we can't afford to raise our kids to process information and think about the way the world works the same way they do. And then you get into the competitive nature of, what you guys were talking about, about the need to compete, the need to build, the need to see the world differently, see a need, feel a need, build something that fills that need, and then compete. We're in an era now where people don't even want to compete to be in a relationship. Like there's just a lack of, like, black people just feel like we don't have to compete with nothing. And it's interesting. I don't know. You could figure out what you want to do with this, because this might be RP or I don't know, but it's interesting that the people that are graduating from college at higher rates, i.e., the black women, have zero interest in competing for a goddamn thing. But these are the people that are supposed to be on the front line of these competitions that are going to change the way our community works and processes. That is what college is supposed to be doing. Higher education is supposed to establish this group of people that are able to stand at the forefront of clashing forces and create shifts, cultural and generational shifts. That requires competition. That requires being willing to compete. But those aren't the types of people that are being groomed in our institutions of higher learning. And I'm not just talking about the PWIs, I'm talking about the HBCUs as well. So I just think all around, and then it does tie in perfectly with the last video with regards to how we view history. Because again, this idea of competition, it goes back to understanding the rules of engagement, understanding the game that's being played. If you don't understand that racism at its core is group psychology, is power dynamics, is competition for resources. If you don't understand that, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't deserve to be out front. It don't matter how much black history, world history, white history, patriarchal history, feministic, none of that matters if you are missing the core concept that all of this shit is about group competition for resources.
Look. So I saw a video last week, and I just looked at the article that's supporting it, but it's talking about the wealthiest ethnic groups in America, because remember, competition is just with white people, it's with every other group of people who are not black in America, or who don't see themselves as the same as us or align with us like black Americans. So it talks about how Asian Americans, period, earn more than every other ethnic group, but within the ethnic group, it's the Indians. So every different group of people see themselves as their own. And all of those groups of people understand that they can benefit off of us. All of those groups of people are competing with us and benefiting off of us, off of our labor, off of our money, off of our ignorance, all those. They are pitting off of us because they understand the competition. We don't understand the competition. We don't compete because we're arrogant, we're egotistical, and we think we're good. Along with the ignorance that we have, we think we're good. We think other groups of people can't mess with us. We think other groups of people are afraid of us. But then we complain about setting up in our community, making money off us. That should let you know that they're not afraid of us. And you can feel like you're good all you want. You can feel like just because you're black, and I think that's another hindrance from the history, is we look at the history and we try to live off the accomplishments and the glory of those in the past, and we feel like that's how we are now. We feel like we're still good now, and we're not good. That's the same people who come set up in our communities don't go set up in other people's communities the same way they do to our communities. We got to think about that. So we're not good. We're not good. We have to compete. We have to compete in all areas of activity. Have to compete. Go ahead, PC. I just had to get that off.
Not well. That's just it though. We don't mind competing with each other. In fact, what happened to
I don't know, but we don't mind competing with each other.
Joe? We don't mind competing with each other, but in fact, we sort of like take homage with our minds with that. We have it where we like to say that I'm going to shit on them this week, but we ain't talking about shitting on nobody but ourselves. When, I think I saw something where somebody said that when black folk go out and buy guns, they don't envision using those guns on anybody else but black. Um, that whole concept of consumption. Look at us and our how we look at people who are important in our community. Typically, it's by whoever can buy what, whoever can consume the most material products, right? Whether it's the so-called car, somebody, all it takes is for somebody to drive down your block with a car that people don't feel as though they should be able to have, and now all of a sudden, that person even becomes enemy number one. I don't want to support their business. I'm not. It used to be back in the day, and I'm about to date myself. I'm not buying that person's Cadillac. I am not putting. So you can't even have a black business thrive in the black community, but for so long, we don't see each other as complementary, and that includes relationships. Now the women are competing with the men, and when you hear the conversations going, as if and you touched on it before, Pat. So I'm not going to do too much because I already know how in the Black nationalist and Pan African circle, you really can't say too much about our women and their behavior. You get blacklisted like Shahrazad Ali for the next 30 years. So, but we have this thing where we really, the only competition we have is for proximity. So you'll have people talking about, well, we have this many academic degrees. This particular fraternity has this many lawyers, but no law firms. You have all the collective cooperation. It doesn't exist in the black community, but everybody else practices it. They've partnered up with the different agencies of the dominant power structure, the white power structure, to profit off of black people. They make their money in black neighborhoods. I once put out a meme, and it's been stolen and it's going viral all over Facebook. But if you've seen this meme, it came off of my page. I said, how could the black community be poor when Asians, white folk, and some other groups of people come into the black community and we fund those communities? If you've seen anything that sounds like that, that was my meme. And that's just the bottom line of it all. We don't even see anything. If we're not getting anything directly from it, we don't want to put anything into it. I've seen black collaborations fall apart over less than $100. And that's the biggest problem. Dr. Amos Wilson, who, I love the man's work. When he was breaking down the psychology of black folk, he was talking about the fact that you can make progress, but you can also regress as a people. And I like the fact that he tried to finish his point, because he was talking so real that the brother that was interviewing him tried to change the topic, tried to derail the discussion. And that's because black folk are uncomfortable when it comes to building our own power. Power makes black folk uncomfortable. If we talk about building black communities, now you have to build a power grid. Are you willing to build a power grid, black people? Are you willing to say, you know what, let's get off of this electric grid. Let's go create a solar farm that's going to populate this particular community and so forth. Let's, move to a small town of approximately 150 to 1,000 people, 2,000 people. Move into that town, take over the politics and take over the town ordinance, right? But that would go back to what you all talking about earlier about studying and learning policy.
Responsibility.
You have control of the town ordinance in that particular region. You would be able to then build your own power structure, access to the waterways and the wells and things of that nature. Um, and you be able to divide. I mean, the phone lines now, shit, you don't really need much to create your own infrastructure with communication. But no, we don't want to do that. Why? Because they's going to come for us. I've heard black nationalists and Pan Africans say, if we build it, they're just going to create another Tulsa situation. Well, we should learn from that and that way empower ourselves so that we're not
Duh.
victims with
It's a
that.
competition.
But,
Duh.
Cuba said, you know what, America, we're going to go partner with your biggest enemy just so y'all leave us alone. You know what I'm saying? Now, they paid for it, but they were willing to go out on a limb because their autonomy meant that much to them. We are not willing to give up those things because we want to consume. We consume everything, information, food. We're the most obese or race in the country. We want to consume products, material wealth. We want to consume degrees, titles. We want to consume high-ranking positions in white corporations. We want to consume all those things so that then we can say we succeeded and we made it. Meanwhile, the black community is not even responsible for the neighborhoods we live in. So, like I said, man, we're struggling with that, and our rugged individualism is encoded in us for so much that as soon as somebody feels like, listen, we had people that was with packs that as soon when they were living on somebody's couch, they were gung ho for the stuff we were building, and as soon as they got a foot up, did we even see or hear from them anymore? And that was several people. So we know firsthand that when people don't, when they're struggling, they need this for their own well-being. But we know when they come up a little bit, all of a sudden, it's kind of like, what did y'all niggas ever do for us?
But the jealousy, the ego, the ego in that the need or the want to be somebody, to be remembered, all of that goes into it. Because instead of being in competition with the power structure, we're in competition with ourselves to be acknowledged and accepted by the power structure, and that's the problem. We're competing with, I'm gonna say it one more time, instead of being in competition with the power structure, we're in competition with ourselves to be accepted by the power structure. The same thing that we're supposed to be in competition with. Because I ask black people all the time who complain about racism and different facets and all these things, and I'm asking them, well, because I look at the different strategies and different ways they take to so-called try to fight racism, and one of them is partnering up with corporations and things that support the dominant system. So how do you fight racism when you accept the handouts from the corporations and from the people who prop up the system of white supremacy? You can't fight what you were taking the handouts from. You can't fight. You can't bite the hand that's feeding you. If that's the hand that's feeding you, then you're gonna find a way to use your little words to say, well, we don't really need to fight them. They're a friend. They not that bad. No, these white folk really ain't that bad. Because I mean, look at my situation. Look what these white folk did for me. Look, I went over here with these white people. I was able to get into they let me in. They let me in a little bit. They let me get my toe in. They let me get this illusion of success. And now I have this. I'm no longer me as an individual, and everybody else I touch is no longer a threat. That's a very sophisticated system. Why get out there and fight Negroes when you just convert Negroes by making them feel accepted?
They've created a path of least resistance for us.
Of course.
And they've also, and Elder Neely Fuller spoke about this. They're going to start letting individual black folk become super rich. And then those super rich Negroes are going to say, if I can do it, you should be able to do it. and therefore there are no more barriers on what we're dealing with in white supremacy and so forth. And um, it just comes down, for me, it really comes down to the fact that if some of us are eating, we don't really give a damn about the ones that are starving. So if I got a fat, juicy steak in front of me, I don't care that you got to dig out the trash, for you and your.
But that's, to me, that's the system, that's the society, and that's human nature. And those are all things that we need to spend more time studying.
Learning about. Oh
Like
man, that word again.
when I was talking earlier, right? And you guys, I'm glad you covered the points you covered, because we don't compete in a sense of competing in the realms that we need to compete in to advance ourselves as a collective. And that's what I was getting at when I said we don't compete. Not even in terms of relationships. We don't. The vast majority of us don't even compete when it comes to a relationship, which is another area that
Of human
advances us
activity.
as a collective. Um, the way we view the world is off kilter. We send our best and brightest to an education system, to college, so that they can become vanguards of uh the next set of changes, right?
Mhm.
The institutions that typically are created in American society that change the face of American society are typically created by high school graduates or college dropouts. They hire the college graduates to work for them. So even in that, we don't view it the same way. We're not encouraging our kids who college isn't for them to start up their own thing. Go to a trade school, get a cert, start your own business, create the biggest mechanical blah 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 in the history of the world, and hire everybody. Or when you go to college, this is your goal. Yes, make good grades, but meet as many people as possible. Develop as many connections as matter of fact, I've heard parents tell their kids, you at college to learn, not to make friends. Well, if that ain't the most backward shit I've ever heard in my life. No, you are 100% at college to make friends. That is by far and away more important than anything you gonna learn there. You can learn everything that you can on a college campus without setting foot on it.
Yep.
What you can't do is meet those people on that campus. So it's just like the mindset, which goes back into studying, studying the game,
Mhm.
studying it. So at every turn you turn and you look at it, and you see like our view of the world and our place in it is off. But we want to have these deep philosophical conversations about whether we can or cannot achieve something. Let's end all those conversations right now. We can't achieve anything in the way that we are right now. I
Nope.
don't care what you say. We can't achieve anything the way we are right now. Hell, we're not even doing a good job of failing. You know what I'm
But
saying? Like,
it's being realistic about what we're saying, being realistic about the situation, being realistic about where we are in America, why we are still here in America, and why every other group is doing better than us, with the exception of Native Americans, and we know their situation, but every other group is doing better than us. And like when John Leguizamo was on the interview, and he talked about how Hispanics and his people built the country, and talk about their GDP and the things that they're doing. Like they get it. They know it's a competition. They know it's a competition. They're look. That's a they hot the loogie in our face, because we know who built this country. But guess
Right.
what? He can say that and nothing happens. There's no there's nothing more than us talking junk, because what we gonna do about it? What do we ever do about it? Because we are in once again we're in competition with ourselves. We don't have our stuff together. You can be mad all you want. When I heard that, I just laughed. I know what the truth, but why didn't I get mad? Because for what? What we gonna do about it?
Bro, real quick. That John Linguizamo conversation is so funny to me too, because this motherfucker is raging against the system for not employing Hispanics in an Italian story. There's not even no Hispanic shit going on over there. Mario and Luigi is Italian. I know you played the role in the 90s, bro, but them are Italian white people.
Well, the key word is white
All
people.
right.
Don't they classify themselves as white?
Yeah, well,
And but
that's,
see,
I
that's
mean,
another
that's
thing we got to
fine.
look at that because they understand who they are and what they represent. Yeah, they not white, but they white-ish. They white
They not
enough,
Italian.
right?
Right.
They're not like the real white, but they white enough. They white classified enough.
This
Because
mother.
we talk about it like even among white people, there's white folk and then there's the real white folk. And the real white folk are the ones who control everything and everybody. All right. We don't have none of that. We just all us messed up because we don't want to get our stuff together. Hey man, the consumption. Look, man, look, Professor so and so not gonna give up their Benz. They're not gonna give up their BMW. Look, like I was watching the broadcast the other day, and I'm not gonna mention no names. I'm gonna change up how I'm gonna say it a bit, but they were getting into a debate about I think the family unit or the history behind the family unit or something. They want to have a debate about it. And I get it because the family is important. But my thing is, what's the purpose of the debate, especially if we're not going to take this information and actually use it to build families? And that's no
Uh,
shot to nobody, but it's just
Well,
being real. Like after because we talked about debates a
is
lot. After the debate, what are we going to do with the information?
masturbate physically, since we done masturbated mentally.
Because I mean,
You know.
at some point we got to use this information. Yes, we can see how destructive the family is, and also do we even need to waste our time debating with people? Do we even need to debate?
Well, I'll say that I do think debates serve a purpose if structured properly. If there are two competing ideas with significantly different outcomes, a debate in that sense is a useful tool for deciding which idea is the best. But we're not debating like that though. That's that's not what we're doing. We basically standing in a room, opening up our heads, exposing our proverbial intellectual
The
dicks, and
proboscis.
doing this.
well,
That's
But
what we doing.
but it's
well,
because that's my bad, PC. But real quick, but that's my thing though. Like that's why I asked the question: Do we? Is the debate relevant? Do we need the debate? Should it happen? Should debates happen? Period. Because if at the end of the debate we're just gonna still go with different ideas and then just go from that, and one person feel like I won, the other person feel like they won or they lost or whatever. What's the next step?
well. See, that's because, like Patrick said, we're not debating with a purpose. We're not going to say, okay, um, the Missouri Compromise was a debate, right? Is America going to move westward, establishing independent states, or basically are they going to move westward, establishing you're going to have free or slave labor states? And that was a debate, and it ended up being one of the presiding factors in the Dred Scott decision in that region when what is it? I believe it's Joseph Tanner. Joseph Taney said that the the move west was based on uh, eminent domain, and that states should have the freedom to decide which one they're going to become. So that was a debate because it actually changed the landscape. It actually was one of the factors going into the Civil War. Um, our debate basically is just to say, who gets to win the shiny medal, who gets to stand on the podium. These debates, and even in the debates that they had in the 60s and the 70s, those debates didn't change policy. We are not moving in a way that's changing anything. We're moving, to say that we can stand toe to toe. That's why we've seen, even when Dr. John Henry Clark debated the rabbi, and he said the infamous, quote that, I only debate my equals, all others I teach. That's a great quote, but it didn't change shit for us, and none of these things change anything for us because we don't have power. And people get upset when I say stuff like that, but we don't have power. Power is so important because power is why Israel can can literally be a landmass surrounded by enemies on all four sides of its borders, and really go to sleep knowing that none of them are going to touch them because they got power. We don't have power to push anybody off us. We don't have any power to make anybody respect anything we say. That's why we're always trying to appeal to power. We're always trying to get in proximity with power. But we are not, they've shown us if you build power, we'll pull up and tear that shit down. And that's the biggest thing right there. If we can convince black people to start building power, we also have to convince them to be ready for war. And see, the two of those things put, you start to see the yellow in a lot of people's spines. And I'm going to tell you where you see the yellow at. You see the yellow with the women because the women are afraid of losing their sons. So their women will hold their sons back. And our women will not allow our sons to grow up and become leaders. They will not allow them to grow up to become warriors. They will then hold them back, similar to the plantation, when they emasculated black boys so they wouldn't be a threat to the slave master. And that's what you see going on now. Why do you think all these young dudes are quick to run the guns, but they talk about they don't fight because they don't want to break their knuckles? And then when you see them fight, they don't even land any punches to break any knuckles. How did they grow up? Bruh, I saw a whole boxing match with these dudes. They didn't even hit arms. They didn't hit nothing. And that's how they're being bred. The story I covered on my show last week and talked about the drill raps and things of that nature. One of the things I talked about was the situation, a 12-year-old kid got killed in Baltimore in a housing and got shot in a housing complex, housing project. One of the things you notice when you look at that at the news coverage, the only men that were in that area were the men that came in with the crisis unit that pulls up typically after some type of street fight takes place or a gunfight takes place, so that they can try to bring some calm and resolution to the family. But after that, it was nothing but women and children. You cannot raise an army with women and children, specifically when the women don't want any men to lead them. We always talk about you need leaders. Well, leaders need followers too. And leaders need to be built. They need to be created. It doesn't happen naturally. Yes, some people have the natural charisma to stand out and do something in society. But you can't, if you're going to temper that, if you're going to spoil these damn kids, they don't have any chores. They don't have to do well in school. They just have to look cute, and they get $400 and $500 sneakers and video games that cost more than most people's electric bills or water bills and things of that nature. You get all those things. They got the newest cell phones, and now they're on social media utilizing all that stuff to war against each other. But you ain't teaching them no principles. And there's no men to check them when they get too big in their britches. Because the men ain't there. And before we start getting into the tangent about, well, the men need to be better fathers, sister, humble yourself. Because if you are the second baby mama, you shouldn't expect nothing from that man. If you are sharing children, the fathers, with like 16 and 17 other baby mamas, then you need to check yourself expecting that man to stop and raise the children you birthed when he got a whole goddamn football team out here that he ain't raising. Let's be real. We don't have time to play games with this and people's hurt feelings and things. We don't have time for that. You can't raise warriors if you don't know what a warrior looks like. And if that warrior don't, if that young man don't respect you, by the time he's 14 and 15 years old, he's going to be out in the street doing his own thing because he's going to see your lack of respect by the revolving door of men coming in and out the house. In after midnight and out before 6 a.m. The children know they there. Let's not play this game. And it's not to say we don't hold the men accountable, but these are the bitch ass niggas that y'all got impregnating you. You choose them, and then they leave a horde of bastards out there that are tearing up our communities with no leadership, and can't nobody come in and be their fathers after the fact.
Yeah.
What he said.
Let that shit go, bro. Let it. Yeah. but
We're just too late in the game for bullshit. That's all I'm saying.
It needs to be. Everything needs to be checked because that's like we talk about all 9 areas across the board, every aspect of how we exist, and if we're being real, we have the greatest disparity, and we're the worst at the family unit. We used to be the best, but now we are the worst. And you want to know what's the greatest thing that we should be learning from especially the groups of people that we competing with? They value family. They actually value working together. They actually value code of conduct. We don't. We think we are good where we are once again because we are trying to live off the accomplishments of our ancestors who were still oppressed. You're not Harriet Tubman. You nowhere near Harriet Tubman. You can't live out what Harriet Tubman did. But guess what? If you don't add to what Harriet Tubman did, then you're not really helping the legacy. We're supposed to be adding on to the legacy. We're supposed to be adding on to the legacy of all the people who came before us, and we're not. We're trying to live off of it and feel good about it. Going back to feel good.
Well, I mean, I think even with that, it goes back to we gotta objectively see history for what it is. I don't think we know black people don't study white people. Black people don't study black people. When you tell black people that we don't care about family, I know because I do this often just to get reactions. They don't believe you. I don't know what black folk you care about are you talking to, but I love my family.
Oh yeah?
No. Do you love your family? When was the last time you talked to them? When was the last time you had a family reunion? When was the last time? Because those are easy, right? Most of us could throw up those dates. When was the last time you and a family member got together and built something that would potentially change the trajectory of your family?
Man,
when was the last time you did that?
We can't even get family to take care of family when family's sick.
Look, man, I am that right there has me frustrated. If it ain't rap music in my family, if it ain't music. But look, man, I've tried to work with members of my family to build stuff for us, and when everybody want to be Michael Jackson, it ain't gonna work. Everybody can't be LeBron. Everybody can't be Jordan. Everybody can't be everybody is not going to be the one out front, but that doesn't mean you're not significant in the team that is going on. But when everybody want to be remembered, we got an issue.
But the mere fact that even has to be explained is family. Everybody should put their ego aside. Like if we really are all about that family life, everybody should be willing to put their ego to the side and play the position that's best suited for them. That almost never occurs. Think about how excited we get when we hear about two family members starting a business. You know why we get excited? Because this shit is rare. It don't happen often. But we see family dysfunction all the fucking time. That's regular. Like we don't even bat an eye at that. So again,
Look, man, look.
We see each other
I,
worth. I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Now, I asked my pops to cut my grass, and initially, because he's I got my crib, I got a lawn. I'm not saying crib, I have my home and I have a lawn, and he has cut grass all of my life. That's his side job. So initially, he was like, "Nah, man, I ain't picking up no new customers." But then I came home one day, he cut my grass. Came home another time, he cut my grass. So the first time, he wouldn't allow me to pay him. The second time, I'm like, "Hey man, I'm finna pull up on you and give you some money, whether you want to or not. Where you at?" And then when I pulled up on him, I gave him way more money than he was expecting. And he was looking at me like, "Well, damn, you my favorite." He looked at me with the eyes like, "Yeah, you my favorite son." But the whole point of me doing that was, okay, if he was anybody else, I wouldn't have had any problem paying him. If I was to call a lawn service of anybody else, black, white, whatever, and they came and they showed up, they gonna expect their money, right? So it's my own family member. Hey, not only am I gonna make sure I pay you, but I'm gonna make sure you pay what you're worth. And for the job that you did, I'm not gonna try to underpay you. I don't want no discounts. I don't want none of that. What's your rate? And then I'm gonna tip you because you are my family. Because I want you to succeed. Because I want to see you do better. Because I understand how we need to work together and be together. That's why I'm doing that. That's how we need to operate. Start asking for discounts. Start asking for hookups. Family and friends, be willing to pay and tip them. Do all of that. Because that's a part of it. That's a part of the building of what we have, the building of the foundation, the structures, the businesses. Once I was hearing a conversation, somebody was talking about closing the wealth gap. Well, the things that we're doing now are not going to help to close the wealth gap. You can the best thing we can do to help close this wealth gap is to defeat the system of white supremacy. So I wouldn't even worry about closing the wealth gap because white people have to redistribute the wealth for the wealth gap to be closed. But what we can concentrate on is building what we need for ourselves.
but let's study again. Let's study the system before you start talking about strategies. Why does the wealth gap exist? Why does it persist? Why is it growing? Yeah, we can look at all of the structural and systemic issues, sure. But what are the things we have control over that we're not utilizing? One of the big things that's a big grower of wealth in terms of a family is a generation that owns a home and then passes it down, and then that next generation doing
Mess
something
it
with
up.
the home. You know what I'm saying? Or starting a business and passing it down. Like that's how you pass something down to the next generation. That's step one. Like, but it goes into again, like we looking for even in terms of the education gap. You say, well, why does the education gap exist? Well, the education gap exists and continues to grow because people that are on the positive end of the gap, they have more opportunities to be educated. People that are on the negative end of the gap, well, those are the people when you talk to them, they say let them kids have a summer. They don't need to be learning stuff year round. Let them kids enjoy life. Okay, well, while they enjoying life right now,
That
Timmy and Becky
competition.
Sue and them uptight black folk that you like to talk shit about, they kids is learning
out
shit all
and
summer.
out competing yours, and that's why your children cannot compete with them at all.
Right. And so in 20 years, your kids had a great summer. These motherfuckers is having a great life.
And the adults are sitting back waiting on somebody to become an athlete or an entertainer to save the family, which
Well,
would not help wealth accumulation. Like closing, if your idea is closing the wealth gap, like Pat said, everything we doing, it ain't working. Stop doing it. It ain't working.
we don't believe that we're worth investing. We don't believe we're worth it. And more importantly, none of us believe it's our job to do the work. I remember when I was walking up and down the block with my youth brigade, as I'll call them, and they were cleaning up the block, how many people would come up to me like, I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you out there, I see you. I'm like, yeah, you see me, but that's all you're doing is seeing. I'm not, and I always push this because I don't believe I'm extraordinary. I'm a hell of a man, but I don't believe I'm like Superman. I don't believe I came here from Krypton or no shit like that. So why can't you get out there and do what I'm doing? Or at least find a way to help support what I'm doing? Because the kids wasn't working for free. Now it was pennies to the dollar, but they weren't working for free. I gave them.
I know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
I know the answer to that question. Why they not gonna get out there and help you? I know the answer. It don't feel good.
Well, see, and that part is not. They don't. There's not. It's not a movie. See, because I've seen people, and we've all been a part of projects that started off with a whole lot of people, and after 2 weeks, like half, less than half, and then about
don't we know?
You're down to like 2 or 3 core people that keep it going. I mean, hello, Pax, here we are again. But
we know.
but it's because in the movies they make you have when they're doing the heavy lifting, you hear the music, it feels good. And I made a movie and I studied cinematography in the process. It feels good. The music makes it feel good. And then you have that moment where you triumph and you overcome, and it's the climactic scene, and everybody's hyped and excited. Well, in reality, those are some of the most dreary and hard working. There's no cameras around, and there's no celebrity to be gained by people who actually do the hard work, as Patrick always calls it. People who do the dark work. It's called dark work for a reason. There's no spotlight on it. And that's where we struggle because, like we said, we don't feel like it's our job. Whenever you hear our folk complaining, look at what they're doing to us. Somebody needs to stop this. You have to think this. Motherfucker, somebody's you. Get off your goddamn porch. Get out here in the street. Go put your money instead of putting it into the liquor store, because every freaking Friday the line is out the door. Instead of putting it there, put it into the young people. Go to your local supermarket and pay these young brothers and sisters to carry groceries to somebody's car. You would be surprised at what little things like that can change the cold culture of your community, because those young folk knew that you invested in them. And now they have a pride about the community. They're not throwing trash on the ground in your community. Now they have a stake in the community. Shit, they might want to do something for the community. They might want to actually become somebody, be a part of the community. You might actually have a damn community again if you just invested in it, instead of blaming everybody or because it's going to take too much of your sweat and labor. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. Sometimes, bro.
Yeah, but look. The music, we're very musical people. And so turn on the music, invite singers, invite that. Think about everything we are part of. Music is a part of everything that's a part of making us docile. Isn't music a part of it?
Yeah.
So they understand how to use how to use our music against us. Well, not our music, we don't own it, but we create it, but we don't own it. But use the music against us, because hey, just make us feel good. Hey man, throw on some Earth, Wind and Fire, throw on some Gucci Mane, throw on some whoever these people listen to. Make them.
You're showing your age. Earth, Wind and Fire, bro.
Yeah, I mean celebration.
No, I mean I fuck with it, but I know because I'm in class with young. They don't know who.
I mean, I know, but when you throw on songs that black people can dance to, black people can dance. That's the old.
Oh no, but see Joe, there you go again.
Cha-cha
black
slide.
People can't dance no more.
Oh, all they do is this. Well, give them something to take pictures to. or whatever they
Yeah,
do.
okay, that might work, but they
Yeah,
ain't gonna be doing that. And then they're gonna
entertainment.
get right now. All they want to do is get sturdy.
It feels good.
Man, listen.
See, half of them
Yeah,
can't even do that.
it feels good.
I mean,
And da 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 da.
we're in a.
Hey,
It's sad because I mean, we are in the crisis of our age. Crisis of our age. We're there, and it's only but so much you can ring me along. You know what I'm saying? It's only but so much that you could try to do to spark interest. And and listen, and I don't typically do this, but in the comment section, we do real work. We just take time out of our schedule to inform some of y'all about some shit. Don't hit us with that, oh, y'all only on YouTube shit, when you ain't done a Google search on none of us. We out here doing real work. So
That's why I ain't in the comment section right there. See that? Thank you, PC.
listen, man, somebody got to say.
hey,
Uh,
what? The one of the points you had though, PC, you talk what both of y'all we talking about um the dark work that we have to do, being able to do real dark work because that's where the real progress comes. So an example of that is looking at the Asians and the Hispanics, right? They didn't make any noise about coming to pass our ass and do better than us and outcompete us. Now, Dr. Claude Anderson told us back in like 95, but nobody listened. But they wasn't making no songs. They wasn't trying to be seen. They weren't trying to be heard. They weren't trying to be remembered. They were just putting in work. Now, both groups, Hispanics and Asians, are outdoing us. Now, the Asians, we still have a greater population than them, but they're doing better than us in every aspect except hunching.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're
And the
doing better than
Hispanics
us
hunch
in
better
that
than us now.
aspect too. Yeah, they just but they're doing better than us even in hunching. I know black folk like to talk crazy about Asians. Asian people hunch, and the community is growing. And if you have any doubts about the hunchability of those
Look at the
people,
populations over there.
yeah. I mean, hell, go
Bruh.
to Jamaica. A lot of y'all pretend to cruise that place. Go look around Jamaica.
They
Go to
ain't cruising.
Africa.
They
Look
ain't
at what's
cruising.
going on over there. It's a lot of
Competition.
right.
Competition, real competition. They showing up.
They know how
They
to
pulled
play
up in,
the game.
bro. They pulled up in Africa and like, all right, we finna own some of this.
Bruh.
They know how to
In
play the game.
Philadelphia,
So
different Asian shopping districts in Philadelphia. Not even including Chinatown.
Man, I was looking at something. I think China either brought a university or a bank or something, something like that. But let's just go with the university. China just brought like a university. I could be wrong, but China just brought like a university, and they come look black folk. If you think the boogie woogie gonna get us to where we need to go, all right. These white folk and the other groups ain't playing with us. They don't give a damn about us. They are not your friends like you think. Don't let the couple people that you cool with get you messed up. The groups are out competing us, and their plan is to step on our necks and keep it on our necks.
while we
Keep
sitting
playing.
around talking about, oh, this white person invited to the picnic. I'm not even coming to the pic. I don't even know when the picnic is, but I don't want to be there.
Any black person that's ever invited any white person to the picnic, your ass is not invited. All right. I said it.
I don't even want to be there because I think it's gonna be more white people than black people at this point.
It is messing around with these Negro, and that's another thing we haven't learned, being too goddamn accommodating. We haven't learned that. We're being too goddamn accommodating, especially to your main enemy. You're so damn accommodating to them, your main enemy, but you want to be friends with them because you want the acceptance, because you understand your inferiority, whether you want to admit it or not. So
It's
yeah,
the weirdest thing ever. I have never seen a group of people go out of their way to make people feel comfortable about whooping their ass. I've never seen it, but I've seen black folk go out of their way, and I'm talking about some of the staunchest so-called blackity black. I'm strong. I'm blackity black Negro, and as soon as somebody white come into the room, they become the most accommodating.
you ain't supposed to say the word. You're supposed to say these type of people. You ain't supposed to say the word, man. Yes.
Yeah,
You a bold Negro for saying that W word.
yeah, bro. Yeah,
Palm
he just
colored.
Chimpanzee palm colored. hey, hey, man. 2-part series. We had to drop a 2-part series on you. First part, Neely Fuller Jr. Second part, Dr. Amos Wilson. Hope you guys enjoy both parts. They both tie together. Hey, this is how we do what we do. Friday breakdowns. Friday breakdowns or breakdown Friday. What I used to say. I'm talking about Friday breakdown, being backwards. But okay, breakdown Friday. PC, Professor Carlton Jones, Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin. Hey man, check us out. Remember, FetLifeStation.com. Today, 7 p.m. FetLifeStation.com. Today, 7 p.m. Go check out PC and his radio show, doing it big over there. Hey, and please continue to support us. Like this video, comment, subscribe, everything. Let's help this channel continue to grow, because we ain't gonna do nothing more but continue to give you the raw truth, because that's the only thing we know how to do. All right. See y'all next time. Catch the next video. Love y'all.